have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, David.
Hello and welcome to Dave and
Mickey's.
Ha! Shiny side out and WZZR coming to you from Australia, the imaginary crisis actor land on the other side of the polar ice walls for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. That's right, we don't exist. And the Earth is a pancake. It's home to fresh ideas. Hopefully none of them have to do with Earth being a pancake. Unadulterated, maybe. And conversations, which are good also. I'm in the chat. Dave is in the chat. Get into the chat if you can. I implore you. A wonderful word. This is show number 600 and something.
37.
That's the one. 730 and 600. That's a lot of shows to get under your belt. 637. That's right. You can catch us on the air, on the line all the time, and on your smart device. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. No technology in it. It's all my voice acting. Amazing. If you missed the last show, that's okay. I did. I was actually cooking dinner. But I do not despair. For I have access to the archives, which are free, by the way. So if you missed the show, that's okay. It's okay. You should not miss it, but that's okay. Go to the archives and just listen to it there. It's all good. It's all good. Importantly,
is it free?
It's free, completely without cost.
Oh,
which is pretty awesome these days.
Weird.
Which actually is, what a segue. Which is a good reason to support the station. For it is listener supported. You, the listener, are supporting. Maybe watching, maybe on YouTube. Who knows? Maybe you're watching this as we speak. It doesn't matter. If you're consuming the show in any which way, you are the main source of support. So if you can donate, please do. Any form of currency is good, including crypto, of course. If you cannot donate, that's okay too. Of course it is. But we are not capitalist swine. No, but tell people of the station if you can. Word of mouth, grassroots and all that. If you tell more people, then more people will donate. It's just how math works. I used to sell stuff door to door when I was younger. Every no brought you closer to a yes. Oh, how I wish that were true. Anywho, before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. And for Dave,
I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country.
Thank you, sir. I myself, of course, am broadcasting out of Darak people country. And we'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much for being such great custodians over the last 60,000 years. Our civilization is not even going to make it past 500.
Good luck with that.
When do we start counting? I guess we can start counting
That's a good point.
Year zero, birth of Christ and all that. Even though that's a stretch.
Two.
But let's call it two. Let's call it 2000, right?
2K.
And dude, we're really close to lights out. It's not funny, but I tell you,
it is.
Well, I don't think it's funny. I think it's catastrophic, to be honest with you. But we lost our way, and we lost our way in a big way. And I think that's not entirely our fault. I mean, if you've listened to the hypothesis show cycles at all, you know what we think on the matter. But it all comes down to choice. We choose to do certain things, and we choose to do, or not to do, rather, other things, right? It really is choice. And this is something I wanted to mention all week, but I keep forgetting, Dave. So let me just quickly say this, and then I'll throw it to you when I stop my live broadcast from the streets of Sydney. I realized that because everything is choice, we make a conscious effort to create our world. And anybody that is slightly spiritual or understands quantum mechanics will agree that that is actually not a bad approach. I watched. This is really serendipitous. I came across 3 episodes, very specifically 3 episodes, right, of George Nuri's Coast to Coast. He took over from Art Bell, I think, right?
That's correct.
Yep. And these 3 episodes were episodes Beyond Belief. Sorry, it's called Beyond Belief with George Nuri. Season 19-1, Season 19, Episode 2, and Season 19, Episode 3. All of those 3 episodes deal with the higher dimensions, right? The accessing them, what happens in them. Fascinating stuff. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. 3 different guests, of course, as always with George Noory, and each show has a different guest. But ultimately, it boiled down to this. I always thought of getting into the higher dimension physically. I thought it was like a physical thing. I think I have to physically get there, right? Or maybe even astral project my body to it. I mean, that sort of comes into it, but it actually comes down to choice. And I know this is true because it happened to me. Let's talk about the next. I'm talking about the spatial dimension. The next dimension up is the 4th dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the 4th dimension, it's all about gratitude. Okay, gratitude for everything in your life. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are. You're drawing breath. There should be something to be grateful for. And if you're in that state of gratitude, then almost anything is possible. You attract good energies. And one interesting thing that was mentioned by a couple of these people on George Noory show was, if you're in the 4th dimension, you can bend time. Okay, and then they gave me, because I was going, okay, well, what does that mean, right? And fortunately for me, they gave me examples of what that meant. And this one guy, he said, look, I was late. I had to be somewhere at a certain time. It would take me an hour to drive there, right? Even without traffic, it just takes an hour to get there. And he was already 20 minutes late. So let's say he left at 9 o'clock. He should have left at, 8:45 or whatever, right? And now he would get there at 10:30 or whatever the time was, right? Significantly late. And he couldn't really afford to be late. So he decided, you know what? I'm not going to stress. I'm going to enter into a state of gratitude. So he went into this. And that's just like it's not a specific thing you're grateful for. It's just everything. It's like a state of grace in a way. You're grateful for life and the breath you take and the sun on your face, okay, the sound of wind in the leaves, and anything, the children laughing, could be whatever it is, whatever floats your boat, right? And so he was in that state, he put himself in that state, and he made it before the time expired.
Huh.
Right? Now anybody could say, no, that's nonsense, it's just someone talking, right? And it's a fair point. I mean, there's no evidence. We weren't with him, we didn't time him. That's true, right? However, the same thing has happened to me a number of times where I put myself into a certain state of mind that I didn't think of it as gratitude, but now that I come to think on it, I mean, that's probably the best way to describe it, right? A really relaxed state of mind, just at peace with the world. And I made a journey that should have taken an hour in 30 minutes or 35 minutes even, right? I can't always do it. I can't always put myself in that state of mind. But when I do, time does bend. It actually happened to me. I did it. And I go, this is not right. It cannot possibly be this time. I should be late.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. So it's really powerful stuff. And then the 5th dimension and on it goes, right? Now, and when I say it's choice, we choose a state of mind. Imagine if everybody chose a state of mind that was essentially gratitude for everything. I mean, you can still, have other emotions, of course, but the overriding feeling that everybody has is just gratitude, being grateful, right, for everything. Now, obviously, the parasites can't allow that, so they pump us full of fear and uncertainty. Because when you're fearful and uncertain, gratitude isn't really around too much.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what I mean by it's actually a choice that we make. And we make this choice every day. And if you look at quantum mechanics and all the people, scientists and otherwise that have looked at quantum mechanics, your choices make your reality. You manifest the most likely thing, consciously or unconsciously. But you will manifest reality, right? And most of us do it unconsciously because we've been indoctrinated, we've been brainwashed, we've been, taught from a very early age, to be a certain way and to do a certain thing and expect certain things. That's why nobody questions, Dave. Nobody questions why we go to work and then we go home and we work 5 days. If we're lucky, have 2 days off. If we're lucky, holidays. You work 11 months to get 1 month off. If we're lucky, again, in Australia, in America, you only get 2 weeks. But you work for most of the time for someone else to make them rich.
Yeah.
Not for yourself. Not for yourself. Most of us don't really. We work to live. Well, we work to survive, really, and we get a little bit of time off. Now we're in a much better shape than our ancestors in the industrial era, sorry. But certainly nowhere near where the parasites are. So again, it's choice. But who told us that this is the right choice? I mean, we've been indoctrinated from birth to believe that this is the life, right, Dave?
Well, they told us that is the way it is. So, who are you going to believe?
Well, that's it. No, but have you thought about that way? I mean, I really do believe that entering a higher dimensional state is actually a matter of choice.
Yeah, I think people have a hard time in two things. One, believing in high dimensional space, believing it's attainable at all. If you're in certain situations, it would be, I have to say quite honestly, very difficult to attain any sort of even equilibrium, let alone attaining a higher sense, because of the grounding we have. We've been taught, indoctrinated, and given no way of even believing it to be true. I understand. I get their perspective entirely. I'm a believer in the quantum worlds being what our expectation is, and since the entire universe is the quantum world, if you believe strongly enough, and I don't mean asking someone to solve it for you, I mean it should be the absolute thing that you believe is the only outcome, for instance, that it can make it happen. I believe that that's true. My mother used to drive around a car park, or at least enter into the car park, a full car park, and use a skill that I didn't understand back then when I was a little kid. She would drive to the empty space, the one that wasn't empty, until she got to it, and then it was empty. It's a very strange way of thinking, but it worked. Now, I don't pressure myself when I'm driving around a car park that's full and you see people hovering around or doing laps like vultures waiting for a space to open up. Just ask, where's the space I'm going to park in? And let it drive you there. Let it steer you in that direction. And the person's just hopping in their car or about to hop into their car right at the point when you reach them. It's something else. It's not very easy to do at Christmas because everyone's thinking of themselves, but at every other time it's usually okay. But that's where I get it. I get that expectation. I get that action for an outcome based on a question. I get that. I totally get it. And I'm with you, Mackie. I think there's something to it. There definitely is. But can people see it? Not when they're getting trampled on. It's pretty tough. Not when everything that we've been taught to believe can be attainable is unobtainable now. When you grow up, it's different worlds. Children are growing up into a suburb and a lifestyle they can't ever afford. It's impossible. There's no way. Yeah. There's no way that they can do that.
100%.
And so it kind of disappoints me that we've reached this point. My thoughts are that we've crossed over, not spiritually, we've crossed over into a new world with a new world order already. There's nothing we can do to stop it. I don't think anything can come about apart from a global war or a huge EMP from the sun or something to set us back to the Stone Age. I don't think there's any other way of getting about this. I'm going to tell you something here. In Victoria, it's a state of Australia. It's at the southeastern point. It's very small. It's kind of like one of the US state-sized states.
Yeah.
All the other ones are huge, right? And they've banned natural gas being connected to a new house. So if you build a new house, you can't get natural gas, even if it's in the street. Going past your house, you're not allowed to be connected to it because of greenhouse gas emissions. No new people can connect to it. Okay, that's faulty logic, but all right, I'll entertain it for a second. Did you know that there's a guy in Australia who has invented a technology? This is for being able to go to Mars and be sustainable and make fuel to come home and live there, that you split water into hydrogen and oxygen using solar panels, and you pressurize it, take some carbon from the air, and make natural gas, all using solar panels, and enough to be able to run a household. All using parts that he bought from either Walmart or Bunnings or whoever you are, I don't care, and all super cheaply. Not Super Cheap Auto, it's a different brand. So he's pitching this successful device to NASA so that it could be used in space flight. It's very cheap, very light, very easy to transport, easy to connect together. It's something that the IQ of the people who need to be astronauts easily obtain the skills needed to assemble it. Now, he's smart enough to understand that this is recyclable carbon. You're taking carbon from the air, and apart from the water vapor that is expelled, you also expel carbon again, which you can use again. Yeah? That problem has now been put to not his device, but it's the first major device where taking carbon from the air and not just scrubbing it and trying to bury it underground, but actually use it, because you're not adding anything to the atmosphere. It's recyclable. And there's no better thing that you could do. Part of our Mekion, the reason I bring this up is because I heard our bumper.
Is he dead? Sorry, I couldn't.
Not,
I couldn't
not
read
yet.
Is he, no, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet, is he?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Now,
I'm not going to hold my breath, my friend. That's for sure.
yes. No, I'm not going to breathe in any more of that recyclable carbon. I'm not going to hold my breath. So this is a point that Meki and I have made, and it needs to be a distinction. So whenever anyone complains that you're driving a motor vehicle without batteries in it, right? It's not EV. You have to, if they complain to you, you've got to let them understand that there's a difference between recyclable carbon, net new carbon, right? Those two things are different. So if you can stop adding fossil fuels to the atmosphere, we'll plateau. We won't be adding any new stuff there. And if we can scrub it out, great, fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we can still exist by using recyclable carbon, then hello. We've just entered a brand new phase in humanity.
Yep.
Because we left it behind to use fossil fuels, and now we're going to go back to it. Remember all the trees that used to grow and we used to burn them? Putting carbon in the atmosphere? Remember that?
Good to you. Darn trees. Look
Darn
at how
trees,
shifty
you
they're
blame
looking at
this.
us.
They're just lying there rotting away.
They're going to eat
Right.
your babies, those trees. You know it's true.
So So we used to do it, and that apart from the industrialization, we were doing quite well. And there's a tipping point, I think we hit that. But what we need to do is start to take it out of the atmosphere. And once we start doing that, I think we'll find other things that we can use it for. And more importantly, if we took all the CO2 out of the atmosphere, what are the plants going to use?
We would all die very, very, very fast. There would be one cycle of oxygen creation, because that happens at night.
That's right.
If you ever walked across a lawn or parkland, it's cold. That's the plants expelling the oxygen. Okay, that's what's happening. So if you took all the CO2 out of the atmosphere, we would be very, very dead the next day. Oh, I didn't wake up. Oh, okay. That's not good.
So this is the comical point, that if people start arguing, let them have their argument, let them win, and then just go ask them a question. Do you know there's a difference between net new carbon and recyclable carbon? And then wait for them, because they're not going to have anything, Mickey.
I'm sorry. Whenever people talk like that, it just makes my brain seize. It really does, and I feel this tingling inside my esophagus, all the way down to my fallopian tubes. That's not true. I don't have any fallopian tubes.
I'm growing ovaries as we speak. I listen to Haim.
But if I had it,
if you don't know who Haim is, look them up.
Up. Net new carbon. There is a certain amount of carbon in the world, and that's just what it is. And chemically speaking, materials go from one state to another all the time. I mean, oxygen, hydrogen, right? H2O, water, and osmosis, and then you burn things that carbonizes. Then that carbon is absorbed by plants again and eaten by humans, etc., etc. We are a carbon-based life form. What? Mm-hmm. What? That's why we burn. That's why we burn. It's really funny to look at this with net new carbon. This is not net new carbon. It's been here for gazillions of years. It's not net new. We didn't just
net
have a
new
carbon
in the
factory.
atmosphere, Mickey. Net new in the atmosphere.
Look, yeah, but it's like it's not like there's a carbon factory making brand new carbon. Get your brand new carbon here.
Get your carbon here.
Never been used before. Net new carbon. Everything is a shell game. Everything is a hustle. Everything is designed to make us dumber. Like carbon trading. If you believe that carbon trading is a good thing, you're dumb.
If you think it's going to solve the carbon problem,
electric car, solving the problem. You're funny. Hegelian dialectic. No, if you think electric cars are a good idea, I'm sorry, but you're dumb. So none of these things. So let me qualify that. If all our electricity, all of it, or 90% of it came from non-polluting sources, I'd say electric cars are okay. Nothing wrong with electric cars. It's good. I prefer hydrogen cars, but that's just me. But there's a lot of stuff out there, and the funny thing is this: if you say, if you voice an opinion contrary to common or popular beliefs, such as, well, electric cars really aren't that good, or, we really should be thinking about the other thing in carbon credit trading, that's just not a cottage industry. It does nothing. It makes it worse, in fact, if anything. And people go, what? No. What? Yeah, are you a flat earther too? Sure, if that's what it takes.
Yeah, why not?
It is fascinating, and the thing is, you must be stupid. Don't you understand how it works? No, I do, but you clearly don't. You have no idea, and that concerns me a lot, because people talk about this stuff, right? I mean, they just sprout ideas, or not even their ideas. You blah idea, blah blah, my idea, blah. No, it's not your idea. You heard it somewhere, but you can't factually prove it. It is in fact not true. It is not a fact. And whenever I see the politicians out these days, trying to sell their energy plans, it makes my skin crawl. It's insane, Dave. Nuts.
This week was a bit sad for me, Mackie. I'm going to tell you. Bit sad. Oh, they did have some job interviews, and I'm quite happy with their progress. But I want to say the sadness came about from a movie that I used to watch. I've seen it. I didn't watch it more than once, but I did watch it. And the term that was my take-home term from the movie was McSweats.
It's Morgan Spurlock, yeah.
McSweats. I've got the McSweats, he says, when he ate his food and his gallon of soft drink. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. Because not even in Australia do we have that much soda served.
No, I mean, the thing is, in America, they had to change the cup size, because you got cup holders in your car, right?
That's right.
Wait a minute. Right, I'll have to put my coffee there, whatever. But they weren't big enough. They weren't big enough to hold. I mean, this is the thing. And I think it was a half a gallon drink, right? In supersize. Now, half a gallon, for those not familiar with empirical measures, imperial measures, sorry, that's 2 liters. 2 liters.
Insane.
Nobody needs 2 liters of Coca-Cola or any soft drink in one sitting. Nobody. You don't need it. No one. In fact, you don't need as much soft drink in a week. It's not necessary.
Want different things.
It was, there's that. But it was insane. And actually, his documentary, even though McDonald's would never admit it, actually changed their policy, and the supersize option disappeared. And
the salad became a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, salad. Oh, yeah, you're right. But don't take the dressing. It goes out the window with the dressing.
Because when you put the dressing, the Caesar dressing on your salad that you buy, it then exceeds the Big Mac in amount of calories.
I'll get you coming and going. That's what we're doing. No, but he passed. He passed away.
He sadly passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, cancer apparently,
cancer?
And he was only 53, which is younger than both Dave and I. I'm only 28 and Dave is 25, but no. Sure we are. That's a lie.
Yes.
But yeah, 53. Now, that's really, because
so sad.
It appeared that, or at least when I was watching his documentaries, it said that he had a vegetarian or a predominantly a very healthy lifestyle, right? And that's why he went into the Super Size Me documentary, because he was actually in quite good shape, right? Quite healthy. And then when he came back, he had gained 11 kilos, and in 30 days he had gained 11 kilos.
That's right.
And his liver and other organs were starting to give out. So it makes you wonder. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened, obviously not, right? But it makes me wonder 2 things. One, did this, because for 30 days he really put himself through the ringer just eating junk, right? Now, was it to such extent that his system just wasn't capable or able to cope with it?
And if the possibility of any damage that might have occurred, if that occurred, then did it contribute towards his demise?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and or did the CIA give him cancer because he was screwing with the establishment? I don't know. I mean, like I said, he seemed to have had a healthy lifestyle. Of course, that's no insurance policy against illness, of course.
No.
But again, he was only 53, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't overweight. I mean, all the pictures that I've seen of him, he's never looked like he was overweight. I mean, the most weight he ever had, I think, was during that Super Size Me.
That's right.
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm not going to start a conspiracy theory that he was, that anything happened to him, but certainly makes you wonder how much can you step on someone's toes before they take action against you? right?
Look, I don't think it's very much, to be honest with you,
I would, I would
because I have forwarded you this week a video on all this lost tech. These were inventions that were there to revolutionize everything, and the creators are gone.
Gone. What? Gone.
Gone. They just they didn't commit suicide, so they didn't kill themselves. This is the worrying fact of the state of affairs, the place we live in, these dreams that are crushed. When Meckie and I were born, the idea was, you buy your quarter-acre block, have a white picket fence, and 2.3 children. I think you have 2 children, then the average was 2.3 children. Now, we were also told you get a good job, you got a good pay, and you can achieve anything. You can buy the things you want. Doesn't matter. It's your ceiling. You create the ceiling yourself.
That's right. Dream big.
Yeah. Follow your dreams. All these things. And where did it all go? There's a vacuum cleaner nozzle that goes into my pocket and takes all the money that I've earned away. Currently, there's nothing there, but
You and me both.
I'll get back onto that wagon. And it's ever increasing amounts of things that are requiring subscriptions just to be able to use. And it's just less and less and less money. My dad says, my goodness me, when I was earning, you're in a good wage. I said, yeah, Dad, but I'm going to list out the things that I've got to spend money on. And I did.
It's not just the things. It's not like you have got more things than anyone else to spend money on. But the problem is here, the things that we all need to spend money on, all of a sudden just cost a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just costs so much more. It's.
No,
I don't
in
even
his
know
day,
what to
Becky,
say.
in his day, he had water rates. That's a fee for the water usage, and council rate, which is your connected services within your district. You pay to a council that runs the district, and they come by, and you have a sewage connection, which requires maintenance. So you pay a fee for that, and your bin collection, right? And an amount of money based on the value or the meterage of your house, pretty much, right? So you do that, you pay that to the council, and they run it, and that money goes to servicing the C roads, A, B, C, the third letter, C, that are under the jurisdiction of the local council. You had a telephone bill, an electricity bill.
Yeah.
That's it. And I said, well, now you have the internet, you've got a phone bill, but that's the same as yours. So internet, streaming services. I've got a Google account, a Microsoft account. I've got the Disney Plus, Netflix. I've got the YouTube, so I don't get to have to sit through the ads. I have all these things. I've got now music for the whole family, so we can listen to music, and I've got that Spotify. I have that. Fuel, what was it? 17 cents a litre, Dad, when you had a mortgage, right? Now it's $2 more expensive, at least, right?
Yeah.
Per litre, the same. I said, we're getting taxed in a way that you don't understand, because we're getting taxed now per kilometre of travel.
Yeah.
The fee is so large to travel. Queensland today just announced they're going to do a trial for a couple of months of 50 cents per travel distance. It doesn't matter, distance is irrelevant. 50 cents a day. Because people were spending up to $90 in public transport fees. And they're going, we're just going to eliminate it. We're going to make it 50 cents. It's nominal fee. Doesn't matter. $1 a day, right? Who can't afford $1 a day to travel on public transport? And try to give money back into people's pockets. That's phenomenal.
Well, something has to happen, Dave. I mean, it is that simple, right? Something has to happen.
The amount of money that we have to spend now is so small comparative to the wages we're earning today that this is a turning point in human history. Now, I've been watching a lot of universal basic income discussions, and when everyone premises, I suppose, that when it's going to kick in. And not until there's a majority of people that have been offset by technology is the overall consensus.
Yeah.
And when, as in time frame from now, because that was a what's going to cause it, but when, and the people who are working with AI are convinced that it's extremely close right now, number of years. And it's going to completely upset the apple cart.
It's started, and insidiously so, and we haven't really noticed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things are being downsized, and a lot of things are being replaced. There's certain things that can't be done yet, but I mean, again, look at Australia just for a second here, right? Not a big country. We've got 26 million people here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thereabouts, 26 million, and it's. I mean, we're suffering from monopolies and duopolies like you wouldn't believe.
Mm.
Plus, we have to pay the Australia tax, which is essentially anything that gets here has to travel a long way. It just costs a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. So it shouldn't, but it does.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are smacked with, I guess, what's the best word to put this? We are being smacked with costs that make no sense. We are I believe, we are more highly taxed than the Scandinavian countries because we have got a lot more indirect taxes. Income tax, no argument, they've got a high income tax. Agreed, yes, but we have a lot more income tax. And Sydney, specifically, where Dave and I live, is one of the most expensive cities in the world. I'll tell you why. House prices, real estate, through the roof, forget about it. Unless you got $1.5 to $2 million, don't even look. Don't even come here.
Mm-hmm.
Stay on the train. Keep going to Brisbane. Okay, so that's out. Tolls. We're paying so many tolls now that the government, I guess similar to Brisbane, has decided to cap it at $60 a week.
Yep.
Tolls. So now I actually received about $2,000 back, right, for my toll usage, because it's now kept at $60 a week. I go, sweet, because on a day going to work or going to see a client or a partner or whatever from my house into the city or maybe somewhere else, maybe I have to go to the airport, who knows, right? That can cost me $30-40.
Mm-hmm.
What?
On top of the fuel cost.
Yeah. You go, okay, what? No, that's pretty much, that's what it is. And you go,
So,
oh, okay.
There isn't a freeway in Sydney that is free.
No.
They're all motorways and they're all toll roads.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
you really can't get about. You can't get about. They deleted 2 of them and they put them back.
The Liberal government has completely sold us down the river.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Liberal government was in charge of in charge of New South Wales, Sydney, for a long time.
Yeah.
And they completely sold us down the river. Everything that could be privatized was privatized. And that's the truth. That's just how it is.
Community housing was sold.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
If it was in an area that developers thought they could make a buck, that public housing, off it goes, and the people would be pushed out, I guess, further out into region and country in New South Wales, right?
Yeah.
There was a housing or public housing high rise overseeing Circular Quay and the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. Not the prettiest thing in the world.
Oh no, it was the ugliest building that had ever been built in the history of
Now-
mankind. That's fine.
Yeah, but people that could not afford to, let's say, live in areas like that, could
Mhm.
live there because it was public housing. That hasn't, they haven't toned it down. They've left it as it is. It's still ugly, but it is now being sold as private condos, millions and millions of dollars worth. Right?
Mhm.
The people that used to live there, they've all been unceremoniously booted out into other areas. And okay, so we are here. We're experiencing a cost of living crisis that is so profound that we have simply no comparison to it.
Yeah.
And the only reason I think we are dealing with it as well as we are is because we just came out of a pandemic lockdown, to be honest, Dave. If we hadn't experienced that and just the relief of not being locked down, I think people would be a lot more upset than they are. It's just my opinion.
Oh, well, I see where you're going. I see where you're coming from there. Yeah. I think it's afforded a whole bunch of luxuries that we now find unavoidable, but those never waste a good opportunity. I think that all of those opportunities were more than utilised. So I wonder, Mekki, I do, I really do. I wonder if the virus had never come.
Huh.
And if we'd be in a better position, and how life would be different. It's one of those forks in the road where there's places in the US, Mekki, that didn't really get upset by it at all. I mean, it didn't do very much, right? A lot of governors decided that they weren't going to lock it down because, we don't have that much of a virus. It doesn't matter. The media portrayed it as the worst thing that had ever happened to humanity. So I'm thankful, I suppose, because it gave different groups an opportunity to see what their outcome was. It's like having a double-blind test, I suppose, right? In a way. I think without getting too deep into it, because I do want this show to last. I do wonder how the WEF would not have had its moment in the sun, being able to dust off its plan for universal basic income.
I see.
The
Fair point.
WHO
Yeah.
would not have had the opportunity to have its legislation signed by most governments of the world, where they can now dictate whether we lock down and how we lock down, because that's now in law.
Yep.
Right? Imagine that. Imagine not getting cancelled on YouTube because you tried to have a reasonable discussion about a thing that was occurring. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Just basically narrating our life and all the questions we had, raising those and trying to get answers.
Mm-hmm.
We've become the very thing that we hated about the rest of the world. The free speech started just to get eaten up. I wonder, Mekki, what it would have been like. I've found my happy place.
I saw this beautiful meme just along those lines, and what it says is this: did you watch excuse me, American Vacation, or National Lampoon's American Vacation?
It's a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
I'm actually wearing the T-shirt right now.
Yeah, so there's there's
I'm not kidding.
Chevy Chase sitting, like, it's just a still frame. Chevy Chase sitting with his son, who was played by what was his name? He was also in The Breakfast Club. Young kid, anyway.
Yeah, that's
doesn't
right.
matter. I don't think of it now. Hall, something Hall. Anyway, they're sitting there and they're just looking at the landscape, really great.
He just
American
crashed
West.
his car. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Hey,
really
Rusty.
simple, Russ.
Russ.
Yeah, Rusty. It's you just it's just a simple Hegelian dialectic. You You create a problem, and you have the people ask for a solution, and hey, presto, you just give them the solution. and look, David Icke has been saying the same thing for years. He's correct. Other researchers have done the same as well. The truth is that we have traded away, to Dave's point, a whole bunch of stuff to feel safe, a whole bunch of stuff to feel, less insecure, and it's okay because we're still all right. We can still live. We still exist. Don't have to worry about it too much until we do.
Probably
it's
best
with the
if we don't
pandemic.
worry about it.
It was just a test. Look, for me, the pandemic was a test to see how far can you actually push people. How far can you push people? How far will they comply with what you say? And funnily enough, a lot of people pushed back. And I think more people pushed back than they expected, I'll be honest with you, especially see, the pushback came from people in the health sector, the medical sector. It came back in the public service sector. And people lost their jobs because they weren't vaccinated, for example, right, in Queensland. And all of these actions have now been ruled illegal. It was not the right thing to do. We weren't allowed to do that. The rulings have come back. That's the thing. It's really interesting to see the kind of resistance that was put up. But then again, not enough to matter.
That's right.
So I guess now they know where the pockets of troublemakers are. Right? There's another.
You've got
there's always this. There's always an upside, Dave. Right?
That's the upside.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the upside for them.
Oh,
we
yes,
found
for
out
them.
who you are.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the upside. We know who you are now. What? Well, we've got your number, buddy boy. Don't you worry. We're coming right for you.
Well, I'm going to say, Mekhi, I'm going to say this on air, and I hope this is an idea that I had. I hope that the reason why we had to have 2 shots in the beginning was because they gave one half of the nation saline in the first shot to see what would happen. Not everyone, one half. Because the risk would be too high otherwise, right? And then the second shot, depending on if you get saline first, then you would get saline second. You know what I'm saying? I hope that was how they operated. Because to have something that was indemnified against any damage, I think is an extremely risky perspective. I'm looking at this in hindsight. I'm not complaining about it, right? I'm just saying I hope that they had gone about it in a way without telling us so that they could ensure at least a calculated risk that this is the best way to go forward on it.
Yeah.
Because since it's been a long time now, right? It's been a long time. So I would hope that they would have done that and taken into consideration the loss of the economy based on the loss of those people. Should there have been something awfully wrong with it, if you know what I mean, right? I'm just trying to be very careful. It's a very good. It is a very good thing to have hoped for. That's what I'm going to say. I don't know what was true or what isn't true.
We have to be careful because it'll just be deleted from
totally.
YouTube, right, or whatever. It won't be deleted off these archives, so you can still find it here.
That's right. And we put
all.
our deleted shows up on Rumble too, by the way, so just in case.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, well, what else can you do? Come on, guys. What else can we do? Seriously. What a thing. What a thing. I despair at this. Look, and this is what worries me, Dave. Since we were there, what worries me is that future decisions will be made by algorithms, right? And there will be no human input necessarily, because Dave actually went back and said, hey, what about this, that, and the other? And the initial decision wasn't made by a person, it was
No.
made by an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
It goes through the words, it picks up the key phrases. It's the same, by the way, and this is interesting. I don't know if you've heard of Echelon and Carnivore. If you
I
haven't,
know
look
of
it up.
both of those. Mm-hmm.
We might do a show cycle on that. I mean, it's out
I think
now,
we
so
need
it
to.
might be interesting for people. Yeah, let's do that. Now, these are algorithms, software that was scouring the internet, but it was also listening in on voice calls, data calls, etc.
Mhm.
And it had tripwires. So if certain things were mentioned or certain key phrases or words were used, it would record and
It
essentially
would move you from one group to another, and then it
Well-
would commence doing things and more monitoring. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
let's call it that. And ultimately,
Uh-huh.
it was limited by how much storage and etc. processing power was available. That is no longer a consideration.
No.
Now, our storage and processing power is godlike. We've reached Olympian heights of storage and processing power, which
Uh-huh.
means, of course, that everything can now be stored and, ultimately used against you, right?
Uh-huh.
You better not say something they don't like, buddy boy.
Buddy boy.
Buddy boy. I'm telling you, because that record will be there forever. And the funny thing is this, depending on how you frame it,
Mhm.
right, you can't even defend yourself. What do I mean by that? Okay. So let's say you say something, we're being taxed a lot. So are you communist? Do you think taxation is bad? Do you think capitalism is bad? What are you, right? Right?
That's
As
right.
soon as you're on the back foot trying to make some kind of argument for yourself,
I can hear the backpedaling
Yeah.
from here.
right? So all of a sudden you go, okay, right, you have nothing to say. You have nothing further to say. They've got you by the short and curlies. Unfortunately. It's- I always laugh because it is very frightening. And if I didn't laugh, I'd be crying. I'd be curled up in a fetal position.
That's exactly true.
Next to my
Mhm.
full-sized skeleton friend Bob I have here in the study. But I tell you,
Who's also in a
it is a
position.
scary proposition.
Yeah.
You know, we are, Dave. We are in uncharted waters.
There are some trailblazers countries that are way ahead of us on this same path, and we can only imagine that we're going to be alongside them, maybe even overtaking them at some point in the amount of vision, telemetry, and groups that people get divided into. I think it's inevitable. It is going to happen. Nothing we can do about it. We can talk about it on the way down. It's no different than being on the Titanic. But rather than panicking, it's like, oh yeah, well, the ship's going down. We're having a reasonable discussion about it, and we're not opting for any other method of solution. We're just, wow, it would have been nice had they turned a little bit. I don't know. That's all we can hope for. We can hope we entertain the ideas, but we're not making the changes, and we're not talking to the people who can make the changes. But at least as long as we're aware and awake of what's happening, then these groups of people are still going to do what they do.
Yeah, essentially. That's
Yeah,
exactly
I
it.
hope that makes sense. And plus, we're all comforting ourselves at the same time, right? It's kind of like an AA meeting. And look, this is the end of the first hour of David Mecky's Shiny Side Out. And coming up next, we'll be talking about the parasitic system, fiat currency, and fractional reserve lending, part 5. It's a short break, and we'll be right back.